That night, I didn't sleep well. It wasn't because of what I had seen, but because of what it meant. There's a quiet grief that comes with motherhood, one no one really talks about. It's not loss in the traditional sense. Your child is still there, still breathing, still calling you mom. But piece by piece, the version of them that depended on you fades. And in its place stands someone new, someone you have to learn all over again. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying the moment, not the image, but the feeling. The sudden awareness that I had stepped into a part of his life where I no longer belonged. By morning, I had convinced myself to act normal, whatever normal meant now. The kitchen smelled like coffee and toasted bread when I heard footsteps behind me. "Morning," he said. I turned, forcing a small smile. "Morning." He hesitated before sitting down at the table, as if unsure whether things had changed between us overnight. They had, but not in the way he feared. "Did you sleep okay?" I asked. He shrugged. "Not really. Me neither." That seemed to ease him a little. Shared discomfort has a strange way of bringing people closer. We sat in silence for a moment, the kind that isn't quite awkward, but isn't comfortable either. "Mom," he started, rubbing the back of his neck. "About yesterday." "You don't have to explain anything," I interrupted gently. "I know, but I want to." I watched him carefully. There was something different in his eyes now, less boy, more man. Not because of what I had seen, but because he was choosing to face it, to talk about it. "That was Anna," he said again, as if the name carried weight now. "You mentioned," I replied softly. "She's important to me." The way he said it caught me off guard. Not casual, not careless. Important. I nodded slowly. "Would you like me to meet her?" He blinked, surprised. "You'd want that?" "I'd like to know the people who matter to you." There it was, the shift. Not control, not authority, just presence. Anna came over again 2 days later. This time I knocked and waited. "Yeah?" My son's voice called from inside. "It's me." A pause. Then, "Come in." When I opened the door, the atmosphere was completely different. Calm, normal. 2 young people sitting on the edge of the bed, looking slightly nervous but composed. Anna stood up quickly. "Hi," she said. She had kind eyes. That was the first thing I noticed. "Hi, Anna," I replied. "It's nice to finally meet you properly." She smiled, relieved. "You too." There was a brief, almost comical moment where none of us knew what to do next. Then I said, "I was just making tea. Would you like some?" She nodded. "Yes, please." And just like that, something shifted again. In the kitchen, I watched her carefully, but not critically. She wasn't what I expected. She was polite, thoughtful, a little shy, but not in a fragile way, more like someone who chooses her words carefully. "So," I said casually, pouring hot water into the cups, "how did you two meet?" My son answered before she could. "School. Group project," Anna added, smiling at him. "He did all the work," she teased. "That's not true," he shot back. "It is." I listened, quietly observing the rhythm between them. Comfortable, familiar, real. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a phase. This was his life unfolding. Over the next few weeks, Anna became a regular presence. Not intrusive, not overwhelming, just there. Sometimes they stayed in his room. Sometimes they sat in the living room watching movies. Sometimes they helped me with small things around the house. And each time I learned a little more. Not just about her, but about him. He was more patient than I realized. More attentive, kinder, There's something strange about seeing your child through someone else's eyes. You start to notice qualities that were always there, but hidden beneath the role they played in your life. To me, he had always been my son. To her, he was someone else entirely, and that version of him was just as real. One evening, after Anna had gone home, he sat next to me on the couch. "You like her, don't you?" he asked. I smiled. "I do." He nodded, looking relieved. "Good." There was a pause. Then I said, "You care about her a lot." "I do," he admitted quietly. I studied his face. "Then be careful with that," I said. "With what?" "With someone's feelings. They're not something you can fix once they're broken." He leaned back, thinking. "I know," he said after a moment. "That's why I don't want to mess it up." And in that moment, I realized something else. He wasn't just growing up. He was learning. Time passed. Not quickly, but steadily. The awkwardness from that night faded, replaced by something more stable. Not the old dynamic we used to have, but something new, something more balanced. I knocked more. He talked more. We both adjusted. One rainy evening, I found myself standing in front of his door again. But this time, I didn't reach for the handle. I knocked. There was a brief pause. Then, "Come in." Inside, he was alone, sitting at his desk, headphones around his neck. "Hey," he said. "Hey." I stepped in, leaning lightly against the doorframe. "Anna didn't come over today." He shook his head. "She's busy." Something in his tone made me pause. "You okay?" He hesitated. Then, "I think we argued." I walked in fully this time, closing the door behind me. "Do you want to talk about it?" He looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second, I saw that same little boy again. "Yeah," he said quietly. And he did. He talked about misunderstandings, expectations, fear of doing the wrong thing, about how complicated it all felt. I listened, not as someone who had all the answers, but as someone who had been there before. "You're going to make mistakes," I said gently. He sighed. "That's what I'm afraid of." "You will," I repeated, "but that doesn't mean you'll ruin everything." He was quiet. Then he asked, "How do you know?" I smiled softly. "Because I did." That night, after he went to bed, I stood in the hallway again. The same hallway, the same door. But everything felt different now. I realized something I hadn't fully understood before. That moment, the one I wished I could undo, wasn't a mistake. It was a turning point, not just for him, but for me too. It forced me to see him clearly, not as a child I needed to protect from the world, but as a person learning how to be part of it. And maybe that's what growing up really is, for both of us. I reached out, gently placing my hand against his door, and this time, I didn't open it. I just smiled and walked away.